Now on my channel I've featured a lot of really scary stuff for you. Varying ranges of scariness.
You want to see something really scary? You bet.
How about Alice in Wonderland? This version of Alice in Wonderland is from 1933. Came out the same year as King Kong. And it actually stars a couple of people that you may have heard of. Cary Grant is in this movie, as well as W.C. Fields. I believe Gary Cooper is in here as well. Some of you may be more familiar with the Disney version of Alice in Wonderland. I don't think I've ever seen that all the way through. I've seen tons of clips and tons of memes. But, you know, through those clips and maybe through other adaptations and cartoons, and I was exposed to the story of Alice in Wonderland. I gotta say, I really didn't care for the Tim Burton version of this. As much as I like Tim Burton, I hated that movie. Something to do with Helena Bonham Carter's head, I guess. Johnny Depp, I mean, come on, dude. Yeah, I just could not take that seriously, and it was ugly to look at. Well, I hate to break it to you, but this one's pretty damn ugly too. Ugly to the point of it's actually scary in here. I mean, obviously it wasn't meant to be scary. It's meant for kids, I think. I guess you could say this was like my first exposure to the full story of Alice in Wonderland. But then again, I don't know if this is all from Alice in Wonderland or from Through the Looking Glass. It's about a little girl's visit to Wonderland. And there is no real story to it, no real like quest or anything like that. It's just a series of weird ass things that happen to this girl once she follows the rabbit down the rabbit hole. You know, you see the shrinking and growing scene. Before that, you actually get like Through the Looking Glass, and you get some cool effects there, and you get to see the chessboard pieces come alive and everything. So I'm guessing this story probably takes from both of those novels. Anyway, she falls down the rabbit hole, shrinks and grows, meets the caterpillar, the hookah smoking caterpillar. This your first like exposure to like really weird looking characters. Well, you get like talking frogs too. You know, these two talking frogs sitting outside this cottage, and they're just depressed frogs, or I don't get them. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of this movie that I just don't get. Like, I mean, I guess it's just supposed to be wondrous, right? But here it just comes off as fucking nightmare fuel, some of it. Like, she goes inside this cottage guarded by the two frogs, and there's this, I suppose it's the Duchess, and she's just beating this baby in her lap. And for all intents and purposes, that looks like a real baby, or, you know, like a toddler. Anyway, and she's just beating the crap out of him and flipping him around in the air and stuff. And there's a cook in there and throwing dishes all over the place like a psychopath, and like dishes crashing against the wall and shit. And the Duchess hands Alice the baby and then takes off. And then Alice takes off too. Meanwhile, the cook is throwing dishes at them. This is psychotic. And then the baby turns into a pig and runs away. And Alice meets all kinds of other characters in the woods. She meets like the Cheshire Cat, of course. I mean, I guess the effects are okay. He's like a puppet. And there's some like optical effects of his eyes and his smile and stuff. But he's just kind of lame looking. 1933, man. Yeah, some of the other characters, there's the Griffin, and there's the White Knight, and the Mock Turtle, played here by Cary Grant, a legendary actor from the early 20th century. But yeah, he's pretty wasted in here. Like, all the characters in here, some of them look weird just for the sake of looking weird. Like, I mean, you know, you get like the chess pieces and the cards, like those guys, of course, they have costumes on and make them look like something. The Duchess and the cook in that cottage, why'd they have to look so fucking bleh, like hideous? Anyway, the Mock Turtle, his costume is kind of, I don't know, it looks like something you'd see in a cheap 1980s direct-to-video horror movie or something. Like a chud. I don't know. And then of course you get the tea party scene, and The Mad Hatter is a real guy, real looking guy. The only thing that really makes him crazy is the way that he acts. And I mean, he doesn't have to have fucking rainbow hair and like orange lipstick and all this weird shiny crap on. And you get the March Hare, also insane, you know, and they're singing little songs and poems and stuff, and then there's like a dormouse sleeping there, and they end up dunking him into the teapot. But meanwhile, it's like in the Disney one, wasn't the dormouse like just a little guy, like a little guy, like a mouse size? In this one, he's like a prepubescent kid or a little person, but they just pick him up and they dunk him in this teapot and stuff. And Alice is like, "This is the stupidest teapot I've ever been to." And Alice, she's played here by a lady called Charlotte Henry. Now, I don't really know anything about this actress. Obviously, she was a big star, or I'm guessing she was a big star back in the 30s. But she does a convincing job of playing the innocent, naive little girl that Alice supposedly was. I mean, she was supposed to be like 12 or something. Then Humpty Dumpty shows up. Humpty Dumpty is played by W.C. Fields. So he was a pretty big star at the time. But again, you can't really tell that it's actually him because he's in like a costume or a mask. I guess maybe his face is actually showing. But of course, they build an egg around it. And he's got little floppy arms and legs. And just looking at that thing, it's obviously like a person with makeup and a mask on standing behind a wall. But just the way that it's executed is like I guess they try and make it look more real, but in doing so they make it look fucking frightening. Like, I mean, these are some hideous mutants we're looking at in most cases. And did it really have to be W.C. Fields? Like, well, I don't know, maybe it's not, and they just dubbed his voice in there. But same thing with Cary Grant. I don't know how they made these movies back then, man. I don't know how they make them now. Yeah, and Tweedledee and Tweedledum, and they look like freaks. Like, you know, the CGI ones in the Burton movie are ridiculous looking too. But these guys, oh my god! Now, I watched this in the middle of the night. Don't ask me why, because that wasn't a good idea. Oh yeah, then you get the Croquet scene. Now, I'm not sure exactly what it was like in the Disney one, because I don't remember, or the Burton one. But I'm pretty sure that neither one of those versions used actual live flamingos and live guinea pigs to reenact the scene. Here, they do. This is long before, like, animal rights activists for movies and stuff like that, and you gotta wonder like how awkward and like frightening and dangerous would it have been for these animals, and they're swinging them around, swinging their heads at the end of their necks, and they drug up these flamingos or just tell the actors just pick them up and go to town. Yeah, and then you get the Red Queen, she wants to cut off everybody's head and whatever, and you get to the final banquet scene, and then you get like the talking pot roast, which is a fucking nightmare if you ask me. And then you get all the weird ass ugly creatures that you saw in the rest of the movie, and they're all in one room and they're all screaming, and there's crazy music going on, and there's shit flying all over the room. People are going crazy, and like Alice is having like a nightmare apparently, and then she just wakes up in her chair and hugging her cat, and that's the end. She's like, well, it was all a dream. Good night, everybody. It's a weird ass movie, man. It was, I guess, a positive experience for me to watch this, because it was interesting as hell, and I was trying to make sense out of it, like to, you know, get like the metaphorical meanings of all these like weird little scenes that Alice goes through. But none of it makes any sense, and there's like no plot at all. It's just get through all this and then wake up because it's all a dream. What? Like, I didn't learn anything from it. It was interesting as fuck and off-putting. I don't know, it was alright. I guess overall I'd give Alice in Wonderland 1933 B-. B- because it's like, it's a relic, man. Like, this deserves to be put in a museum. Sure, it is in a museum or two somewhere. I mean, it didn't suck. It wasn't so bad it was good. It was interesting and gave me a great sense of like history or the past, or like how they made movies back then, and I guess what the special effects were like, which were fucking weird. But yeah, overall it was good. I recommend it. So until next time, until our next adventure to a magical land, have a good one out there, everybody.